Good morning. On today's episode of Divya's Discoveries, I want to chat about having the courage to know when we're in our flow zone and when we're not, being present to the feedback. So I'll share with you my experience this week. You know how sometimes you can be engaging in a task and find yourself feeling drained or potentially even exhausted by the end of the day? I've had quite a bit of that this week, and that's not normal for me because, as you know, when we're fully present in each moment with each activity we're engaging in, there's ample energy. It's only when we kind of go into our heads and back in our timelines and start stacking events that we can create this feeling of exhaustion or tiredness for ourselves. And for me, I've been working on compiling an e-course, and I haven't yet figured out how I can do that from the space of presence, being fully centered and grounded. I keep finding myself going back into my head to try to compile concepts, going back into my timeline. And even all of these concepts and metaphors and the research that I found, like it's come about a little bit organically, either, with someone in a coaching session or a book that I had read years ago and studies that have stuck with me. But when I'm citing them or recalling them, I cease to be present. So in doing that, I feel like at the end of each day, I'm just kind of so tired, and because it's not my flow space. So flow is when we are engaged in a task that has the appropriate amount of comfort and challenge simultaneously. And I know enough about myself to know that my flow space comes from when I'm with people. So even these videos are quite challenging for me because they feel very one-sided. It helps when I imagine who I'm speaking to each time. I direct my attention and energy to you, and in that way make it a more feasible process. For me right now at the moment, my core challenge comes from being able to deliver information proactively rather than reactively. So I know that I'm very skilled in reactively offering what someone needs to hear in a useful way to kind of bridge the gap from a current state of thinking that perhaps doesn't serve to another way of perceiving. And yet I'd like to be able to do that very proactively without a question first preceding it or any context, and that's the purpose of this course. And in my kind of struggles this weekend whilst working through it, trying to outline the lesson plan and what is it that we're covering, I found myself going back to my wealth dynamics profile. So for those of you who don't know, there are countless profile systems out there, everything from Myers-Briggs to DISC, and they classify us as certain types. And whilst that can be limiting in many ways because it doesn't honor the wholeness of us, there's also usefulness in value in if we take the frame and we know it tends to be preferences and rather than this is, right? So when we approach it from a lens of when I am in these contexts or in this space, then I am in my flow zone, my peak performance state. So my wealth dynamics profile is a supporter. And from the day that I read that profile, I felt really aligned with what it says. So I might read a little snippet from it. It says, supporters are outgoing, loyal, and fantastic networkers. Their value is in the heat of the moment, the relationships they create, and the enthusiasm they can offer. Left to themselves, they often get indecisive and lost, like a fire without wood. When given the opportunity to build their own team, the team can outpace, outsmart, and outperform the most quick-witted competitor. And so that's just a snippet of this long profile, and I found myself considering how much of this challenge that I'm undergoing in creating this course is something that I really want to be doing, and how much of it is something that I might be better off sticking to my flow zone. Do you kind of get where I'm exploring at the moment? And so this is all very current for me, very fresh. So apologies if I'm not articulating it as skillfully as I might like, but that's where I'm up to, just exploring the vision that I have for myself. When I see myself 10, 20 years down the line, it's delivering keynotes and presentations to organizations more and more, and I trust the moment and the process that as I keep doing what feels most aligned and congruent now, I will get there. And so perhaps it's a skill that will be built along the way. But for right now, feels hard. Well, hard's not exactly the right word, but it does feel like I'm not in my flow zone whilst I'm creating this course. There's definitely a bit of not just the newness of challenge, because that's an element of that as well, but it's not just that. It's more like just the maybe it's the indecisiveness or the lostness. There's a vast wealth of information that I have, and how do I chunk it down and compile it into these little bits? That's where I struggle. Earlier in the profile, it said supporters, when you give them a plan, they'll execute perfectly, but don't expect them to come up with a plan on their own. And I think about that in my contribution to the excellence program is understanding, okay, here's the plan, here's the vision, and here's where I can add value. So yeah, anyhow, that's me for this week. That's some of the things that are going on in my world. I hope that you are having some excellent discoveries yourself, and whilst I'll be away this Friday and won't be able to join you for Life Labs, I shall leave you in the very capable hands of the masterful coach Deb Mays, and Look forward to hearing about what insights emerge for you during that time, and I'll speak to you later.